At night, the Mongol camps were silent. No shouting, no chaos. Yet by morning, entire empires collapsed. Genghis Khan didn't win with numbers alone. He used a system, so disciplined, so secret, that enemies never saw it coming. Messages moved faster than armies. Orders were followed without question. So how did a scattered group of nomads become the most feared military force in history? This is PASTORA. Stay with me to uncover the hidden system that powered Genghis Khan's army and changed warfare forever. The world was shocked. Nomads with no cities, no walls, no written maps. Yet empires began to fall overnight. This was not luck. Something hidden was moving across the land, fast, silent, unstoppable. In the early 1200s, the world believed power lived in stone cities and massive armies. China had fortresses. Persia had wealth. Europe had knights and castles. Then the Mongols appeared. They came from the open steppe. Endless grass, harsh winters, no permanent homes. Most rulers did not take them seriously. They saw herders, hunters, families on horseback. Not an empire, but within years, news spread like fire. Entire armies destroyed, major cities erased, kings fleeing. From northern China to Central Asia, and later into Eastern Europe, the same story repeated. The Mongols arrived suddenly. They moved faster than messengers. They vanished before counterattacks. People could not understand it. How could a scattered nomadic society defeat the strongest civilizations on Earth? The turning point came when Genghis Khan united the tribes. Not through tradition, through rules, through discipline. Victories followed one after another. Enemy generals made the same mistake. They underestimated the system behind the riders, and by the time they realized it, it was already too late. This was not just a powerful leader. It was something deeper, a new kind of organization, and it began with one man shaped by betrayal, hunger, and survival. Before the world feared Genghis Khan, it ignored him. His rise was not noble. It was violent. It was lonely. And it began with betrayal so brutal it shocked even the harsh Mongol steppe. He was born as Temujin around 1162 on the cold Mongolian steppe. His father was a tribal leader, but power did not last long. When Temujin was still a boy, his father was poisoned by rivals. Overnight, everything collapsed. His clan abandoned the family. They were left alone. Temujin, his mother, and his brothers survived by eating roots, rodents, and scraps. Hunger followed them every day. Danger followed every night. Other tribes hunted them. Former allies became enemies. At one point, Temujin was captured and chained like an animal. There were no laws to protect him, no tribe to defend him, only the steppe. In this chaos, Temujin learned a hard truth. Blood loyalty meant nothing. Only strength, trust, and discipline kept people alive. Temujin escaped captivity against all odds. Instead of returning to old traditions, he chose a new path. He began to gather followers not by family name, but by loyalty and skill. This was radical, dangerous, but it worked. Every betrayal sharpened his thinking. Every loss pushed him toward a system built on control, not emotion. Temujin was no longer just surviving. He was planning, and soon, he would break the ancient tribal order, forever changing how power worked on the steppe. What if loyalty to family was no longer enough? This idea shocked the steppe. For centuries, blood decided power. But one hidden decision would break this rule and reshape an entire army from the inside. On the Mongol steppe, tribes were everything. You fought for your clan. You followed your bloodline. Leaders were born, not chosen. This system was ancient. It gave people identity, but it also created endless betrayal. Temujin had lived through it. When his father died, the clan walked away. When danger came, blood did not save him. As he began to gather followers, Temujin saw the weakness clearly. Tribal loyalty divided men. It created jealousy and rebellion. It slowed decisions. Empires were not defeated by chaos. They were defeated by unity. So Temujin imagined something radical. An army where loyalty was earned, where skill mattered more than ancestry, where survival came before tradition. Temujin made his choice. He broke the tribal order. Commanders were selected for ability, not family. Former enemies fought side by side. Shared rewards replaced private glory. Many were shocked. Some resisted, but those who stayed became fiercely loyal. For the first time, the steppe was organized around merit. Not blood, not history, only performance. This decision changed everything. But ideas alone do not win wars. To control thousands of warriors, Temujin needed something more. A system. Simple, precise, unbreakable. The system was simple, almost unbelievable. No complex titles, no royal ranks, just numbers. And yet, this hidden structure gave the Mongols a level of control that shocked every empire they faced. As Temujin's army grew, chaos threatened everything. Thousands of riders, different tribes, different past loyalties. Most armies relied on nobles and slow chains of command. Orders moved late. Confusion followed. Temujin chose a different path. He organized his entire force using a decimal system. 10 soldiers formed a unit. 10 units formed 100. 10 hundreds became 1,000. Each group had a leader. Each leader was responsible for his men. If one failed, all felt the consequences. This structure was easy to understand, easy to replace, easy to scale. On the open steppe, speed mattered more than ceremony, and this system turned movement into precision. When battle came, the system revealed its power. Orders traveled instantly. Units split, merged, and reformed without confusion. Even if leaders died, the structure survived. Another stepped in. The system did not stop. Enemies watched in disbelief as Mongol forces moved like one body, not as tribes, but as a machine built on simple numbers. Structure brought control, but control alone was not enough. To make this system work, obedience had to be absolute, and the next rule would be feared more than the enemy itself. The rules were unforgiving, almost shocking. One mistake could destroy an entire unit. Yet soldiers did not run. They stayed. Because discipline in the Mongol army was not just about fear. It was about trust. In most medieval armies, discipline was uneven. Nobles were protected. Common soldiers were expendable. Genghis Khan rejected this completely. Under his command, no one was above the law. Not commanders, not relatives, not favorites. Rules were simple and absolute. Disobedience was punished. Cowardice was punished. But loyalty and courage were rewarded equally. One powerful rule defined the army. If one man fled, the entire unit was punished. If one succeeded, all shared the reward. This created tension, fear of failure, fear of letting others down. But it also created something rare: trust. Every soldier knew the man beside him would not run, because survival depended on unity. This discipline changed behavior on the battlefield. Units held their ground. They moved together. They protected one another. Soldiers did not fight for glory. They fought for their unit, for shared survival. Enemies were shocked. The Mongols did not break under pressure. They tightened, like a clenched fist moving as one. Discipline created unity. But unity needed direction. To strike at the perfect moment, Genghis Khan built something else. A silent network that carried orders faster than fear itself. There were no drums, no horns, no shouting across the battlefield. Yet Mongol armies moved with shocking precision. Orders arrived on time. Attacks came together. This was not magic. It was a hidden network built for silence and speed. Distance was the greatest enemy of ancient armies. Messages moved slowly. Messengers were captured. Plans collapsed before they arrived. Genghis Khan solved this problem early. He built a relay system across the steppe. Fresh horses waited at fixed points. Riders changed mounts and continued without rest. Messages crossed hundreds of miles in days, sometimes hours. On the battlefield, silence mattered. Flags, smoke, hand signals, simple signs every unit understood. No shouting meant no warning, no confusion. Each commander knew the plan in advance. Each unit knew its role. When the moment came, the army moved together. Enemies saw nothing until it was already happening. This system allowed the Mongols to strike from multiple directions at once. Separated forces reunited perfectly. Retreats turned into traps. Enemy commanders were stunned. They reacted to yesterday's information. The Mongols were already tomorrow. By the time defenses formed, the attack had begun. Fast, silent, unavoidable, speed gave the Mongols control of time itself. But speed alone did not choose targets. For that, Genghis Khan relied on something even more dangerous: information. Before the first arrow flew, the battle was already decided. This truth shocked Mongol enemies. They prepared walls and armies. But the real fight was hidden. It happened in maps, whispers, and silent observation. Genghis Khan believed information was more powerful than force. Before any campaign, scouts moved ahead of the army. Far ahead, they studied roads, rivers, and mountain passes. They counted soldiers. They learned supply routes. They watched how cities opened and closed their gates. Spies blended into markets and villages. Merchants carried stories across borders. Prisoners were questioned carefully. Every detail mattered. Weather patterns, local rivalries, weak commanders. The Mongols built mental maps long before paper maps existed. Commanders knew where to strike, where to avoid, where to wait. Enemies believed they were unseen. They were not. They were already surrounded by knowledge. When the Mongols finally moved, they never attacked blindly. They struck supply lines first, then communication routes. Cities found themselves isolated. Armies marched into traps. Enemy leaders were shocked. Every move they made had already been anticipated. The battlefield was shaped before swords were drawn. Violence was only the final step. Knowledge gave the Mongols control. But control alone did not break resistance. To collapse entire cities without fighting, Genghis Khan used something else: fear. Some cities fell without a single arrow fired. It was unbelievable. Enemies were shocked, terrified, and confused. The Mongols did not always fight. Sometimes fear alone destroyed armies and opened gates. Genghis Khan understood that fear was a weapon. He knew humans often surrendered to reputation before reality. Stories of entire cities wiped out spread faster than armies. One massacre could convince 100 settlements to yield. The Mongols used tactics to amplify terror: fake camps, visible bodies, and relentless rumors. Messengers carried tales of destruction across the steppe. Villagers whispered to neighbors. Kings panicked. Leaders did not know what awaited them. They saw Mongol banners appear overnight. They imagined numbers far beyond reality. The uncertainty alone caused collapse. This psychological edge reduced the need for long sieges. Mongol forces could conserve strength, strike again, and maintain momentum. At times, cities opened gates willingly. Soldiers surrendered. Merchants, nobles, and peasants complied. The Mongols walked in, sometimes sparing lives, sometimes punishing selectively. Every act reinforced their reputation. Fear became a chain linking settlements together, controlling them without bloodshed. Enemies realized too late. The Mongol shadow was everywhere, even before the first battle. Fear gave Genghis Khan power beyond the battlefield. But reputation alone could not win wars. To conquer the world, he combined it with flexibility, adapting faster than anyone could imagine. The Mongols shocked the world again and again, not because they were stronger, not because they had more men, but because they could change instantly. Every enemy trick became their own secret weapon. In most armies, tradition ruled. Knights clung to swords. Archers clung to bows. Commanders repeated the same tactics. Temujin's army was different. He studied every opponent carefully. Every weapon, every formation, every strategy. If an enemy used catapults, the Mongols learned to avoid them or steal them. If new cavalry tactics appeared, they adopted them faster than anyone imagined. Siege machines, fortified walls, river crossings. Nothing was too complex. This constant adaptation created confusion. Enemies fought yesterday's war, while the Mongols fought today's. Rivals could not predict the next move. Every battle demanded a response the Mongols had already prepared for. During campaigns in China and Central Asia, the Mongols faced weapons and formations unknown to them. Instead of retreating, they absorbed the knowledge. They built larger siege engines. They reorganized formations. They turned mistakes into advantages. By the time the enemy reacted, It was too late. Flexibility became their deadliest tool, sharper than swords and faster than messengers. Adaptation made them unstoppable. But to dominate entire empires, speed and learning were not enough. One more secret would turn strategy into empire, something deeper than rules, numbers, or fear. Genghis Khan died in 1227, yet his empire did not collapse. This shocked the world. How could one man's vision survive death? The answer was hidden, built not in blood, but in a system stronger than life itself. Most empires crumble when their leaders fall. Generals fight for power. Alliances fracture. The Mongols were different. Temujin's army was not just men on horses. It was a machine of structure, discipline, intelligence, and adaptability. Decimal organization kept commands flowing. Rules enforced loyalty. Fear spread faster than armies. Knowledge and scouts guided every move. When Genghis Khan passed, his sons inherited not chaos, but a working system. They continued campaigns across Asia and Europe. They conquered, ruled, and expanded. The Mongol way was stronger than any individual. The empire thrived because the system could survive loss, betrayal, or death. Even without their founder, Mongol armies moved with the same precision. Orders flowed. Cities surrendered. Enemies panicked. The system allowed adaptation, strategy, and loyalty to continue seamlessly. History watched in disbelief. One man was gone, yet the shadow of his empire stretched farther than anyone could imagine. The Mongol system proved an important truth. History is shaped not by legends alone, but by ideas, structures, and discipline that outlive even the greatest men. Power can be immortal. Genghis Khan's empire rose not just from war, but from one bold decision: to build loyalty, structure, and intelligence above all. That choice reshaped history forever. If you found this story fascinating, subscribe for more hidden truths and cinematic history. Share your thoughts below and join the journey into the world's most extraordinary systems. Next time, we explore how strategy can outlast even the greatest leaders.